Hi, Brady.
Hi, how's it going? Can you hear
Hi.
me okay?
Yes, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you for not saying no when I reached out for you. It's really amazing what you do with Nucleus and Prochus. So very awesome stuff. So very quickly, I know I follow your YouTube, your newsletter, your blog, also platforms, even your YouTube channel. You've been rolling out content consistently. So can you just share with us how you've been able to stay consistent over the years? Like, what's that secret?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've always made it a priority. I think any type of progress and growth online, whether it be social or with email, anything like that, it requires sustained effort. So it's really easy to start something. It's not so easy to finish something. You have to keep at it. And it's really easy to look at one thing that you publish and think, oh, this post didn't do so good, or this post did really, really well. But in the grand scheme of things, a single post isn't going to make that much of a difference. It's how can you keep at it for years and years and years? And I've been at this now for close to a decade. And when you look back, you can see, oh, look how much progress that we've made. But at the same time, it also feels like, hey, we're just getting started. So that's really the number one thing. The reason it's been easy is because it's been my number one priority since day one. No matter what, don't stop posting, don't give up, don't disappear and then come back a year later. Just keep at it.
But have you ever missed a day? No. Have you ever missed a day? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, there have been days, but never a prolonged absence.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's really cool. Amazing. So I've seen a lot of churches like roll out content severally, but with little or no strategies at all put in place. So what exactly do you think churches should be creating? Like what content do you think they should be creating to increase awareness and engagement on their platform?
Well, we always think that you should be creating content that is doing ministry rather than promoting ministry. Prior to this global pandemic, most churches would spend their social channels basically like promoting what's coming up soon. It's like, hey, we've got an in-person event, we've got small groups, we've got this service, a new sermon series, which is great and all. And you can post those infrequently, but if you can use social to fulfill ministry, the way we like to say it is you want to reach publicly and you want to connect personally. Meaning you can publish content that's meant to reach a lot of people, but at the end of the day, what matters most is what we're doing right now, connecting personally, one-on-one, whether that be face-to-face over video chat, it could be through email, it could be through direct message, it could be through text, connecting personally with your church. And so the kind of content you want to be creating is the type of content that creates those opportunities, springboard opportunities where you can connect personally.
Nice, cool, awesome. Really awesome. But we still have churches who believe like digital is not necessary, especially here in Nigeria. The smaller churches, they think since we're small, we do not have to leverage digital at all for our church. But how do we fight that? How do we say, hey, regardless of your size, you still need to push out your content via digital?
Well, I think we can even look to the Gospels and seeing Jesus modeling that and how important it was. A single person is worth going to great lengths to reach them. And I love the fact that most churches are smaller. It's different in every country. Here in Canada and even in the States, the average church is about 100 people. And anything less than 100 people is great because that's this type of community size where everyone can know each other. And it's always tempting to look up to the really influential churches and influential pastors and see how much of a reach they have. And, oh, they got this many likes and this many views. And churches cannot do that you can, if you're smaller, is connect with people personally. And again, it goes back to both of those things need to happen with digital. You need to reach publicly and connect personally. The larger you are, the more difficult it is to connect personally. And so we can think that, oh, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million followers is great. But there comes a certain point where you have difficulty connecting with people on that personal level. And if you aren't able to connect personally, then you're going to struggle on social making a long-term impact.
So connecting personally is what you suggest.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's how you create life change, which is why we as churches are on social. We want to see people have their lives impacted by Christ and by the good news. And that requires real personal relationship and interaction.
Good, good, good. So ranking on search engines, we have churches who struggle to rank on, say, Google, for instance. We have churches who struggle very hard when it comes to SEO and other links to rank on search engines. So what do you suggest? What do you think they need to put in place? What are the necessary keywords? On websites, we have meta tags, the church description and all of those. But what do you think? What do you think churches should be doing better? What has worked for you?
Sure. I mean, there's a few simple tips that you can implement. The truth is, for many of our churches, people are going to find us online before they ever come to us in person. And, I was searching something just recently. I needed to have my car cleaned. And so I went on Google, and I live in a region called Niagara Falls in Canada. So I looked up, car cleaner Niagara Falls, and that's what came up. And I found someone who ranked high in Google, and then I went with them, and they're here today doing this deep clean of my car. It's very similar for churches. Someone's going to type in Niagara Falls Church or New York Church or, some region church. And so making sure those keywords are heavily featured on your church's homepage, in your meta descriptions, all of those types of things is important. And then another consideration is your Google My Business listing. So what'll happen now is for physical businesses, which Google sees churches as, if you don't fill out all that information, you're not going to have on the right side of the Google, landing page, you're not going to have the information like your address, your phone number, reviews, listings. And so it's important that you fill out all that information, especially the reviews. The reason I went with this car detailer over another is because I saw on the Google My Business listing, this guy had so many 5-star reviews and everyone was like, this place is awesome. And so that's one thing that you can do right now is make sure your Google My Business listing is active, and then ask the people within your church already, hey, can you go and leave a rating for our church, so that when people do find you organically, they immediately are met with a ton of messages saying, yeah, we like this church.
Yeah, good. So adding your region to whatever content you're putting, and also, what you do, adding that to your platform, then reviews on Google listings.
Yeah, and then one more thing that you can do that's super important for making a good first impression is having really bright photos of smiling people all over your website. You might think,
Yeah,
oh, we should have yeah. So you might be thinking, oh, we should have a photo of our church's building or a photo of the cross or something. But, what's most important is photos of the real people at your church that are smiling and enjoying themselves, because humans connect with other humans. And if you want to make a great first impression, you want the feeling of your church to be inviting and welcoming and full of brightness and hope. And smiling photos of people that attend your church is the best way to represent what we do as churches.
Okay, really good. So the next question would be, running effective ads for churches is a big challenge, honestly, to be very frank. So how do we convert these people we get online to our church? Like when you run ads, you want conversion. Like people coming to your church and saying, hey, I want to attend this service, what this service about. So how do we do that? What are the key strategies we need to do, like running great ads for churches?
Sure. I mean, again, the most important thing is to make a personal connection with people. And so any way that you can find opportunities to get a pastor to be emailing with someone, on the phone with someone, direct messaging. It's a lot of this stuff that doesn't necessarily scale. You don't just like turn on an ad and then just have it happening. It's like real relationship. It's real grunt work. It's working in the trenches, to use an analogy, and to make connections when it's possible. And, one thing that my church has begun doing during this time of the pandemic is we can't meet in person. So what's happened? A lot of our pastors have been picking up the phone and they've been calling people in the church and checking in on them. And that's made such a difference. I just got my haircut, can you tell? Finally. And so I was at my barber, and he's connected to our church. And he tells me, he's like, hey, I hadn't been to church in a while, and one of our pastors called me and he remembered my name, and it made me feel so great. That's what it's all about. Like, the whole reason you do social and you publish on social media is to reach publicly for the opportunity to connect to someone personally. And it's just those two things over and over again. Reach publicly, connect personally.
Reach publicly and connect personally. Oh, okay, cool. So can we talk about Google Ads grants for this? Yeah, Google offers 10,000 US dollars, correct, to non-profits and churches. So how do churches gain legibility? What are the things they need to do? What are the things they don't need to do or just stay away from? And if you've benefited, can you just share your experience with us?
Sure. So I've never used it firsthand. We've worked with many churches that do. It's pretty simple. You just have to go into Google and search for the Google AdWords, nonprofits grant. And then basically they have to determine if you're eligible or not. So you put in a bunch of different information and you say, this is my church, this is where we are. And you have to kind of acknowledge, okay, we're not discriminating against people for you to be eligible for that. Some churches have difficulty selecting that. I've never had an issue with it. Doesn't seem like it would stop me from doing that. But again, I haven't dealt with it personally. But it's one of those things where Google is inviting you and offering you all of this free advertising juice. And so I say, if you are a church, take it. When nonprofit discounts are available, take it. As churches, we're dealing with limited resources. And what's amazing about digital is how it levels the playing field. You and I are on a live stream right now. Dozens of people are going to watch this live, and hundreds will watch it afterwards. And that wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago. I'm just on my phone. Like, I got my AirPods in. There's no fancy gear here. So what's amazing about digital is it does level the playing field and make it accessible to reach people. And when you can find discounts and grants, absolutely take advantage of those.
Thank you so much. So let me just say this. How do you stay creative? Like, you bring out content, you roll out content, you design, you do all this stuff. I'm sure you do bulk of the stuff yourself. Like, so how do you stay creative? It's like a bank. When you keep redrawing and redrawing and redrawing, in the end you run out of content, you run out of funds. So how do you ensure that your bank is always referral?
Sure. I mean, if you want to have good output, you need to have good input. So that means reading good books. It means listening to good podcasts. It means finding inspiration in places that you don't normally spend time in. So a lot of the times when I'm looking for inspiration beyond the church world, I'll look for inspiration, in the fitness world or in the writing world, in the sports world. A lot of the times when I come up with social media content, it will be from an industry that has nothing to do with church. And I think that the best creativity comes when you can fuse two things together. So it's not copying someone else's idea, but it's maybe copying one person's idea and another person's idea, and then just putting them together and seeing what happens. And so that's a great way I've found to stay creative as well.
Awesome. Very, very awesome. So finally, I know we're almost done with the 15 minutes. So finally, can you share basic tools with us that churches should use? I know you use tools, you use a lot of things in creating your content. Can you just share any that you think churches should be using on your platform for their church? Anyhow.
Sure. I mean, I think Facebook Creator Studio is really helpful. That's a free tool from Facebook and Instagram. You can connect your pages into Facebook Creator Studio, and you can get analytics, insights, you can schedule posts. And so instead of paying for, let's say, a third-party scheduler, you can use Facebook and Instagram's free tools for that. So I really like that. I'm a huge fan of the video editing platform DaVinci Resolve. It's extremely powerful and free, which is very unusual. Normally you get something free and it's kind of like the discounted version, or it's not that actually useful. DaVinci Resolve, incredibly powerful. So if you are looking to create videos, that's what I use. And so I highly recommend that tool as well.
Before we go, now, can you just say, like, can you just give us one message for churches out there? One key things you think churches should be doing that you think they've not started doing?
Sure. So we say that, we're living through the biggest communication shift in 500 years, the biggest change since the printing press when it comes to getting information out into the world. And what's amazing about this is it's giving us as churches more opportunities than have ever existed. And so it's important to take advantage of those opportunities and just recognize that no one really knows what they're doing. This is all so new. Even now, it's only been about 10 years that social platforms have existed. And so if you feel like, oh, we're too late to the game or we're not making as much progress as we'd like, that's how we all feel. So don't get discouraged. Like I said at the beginning of this, the key is to stick to it. Don't give up. The best thing you can do to see growth and life change on social is sustained effort over a long period of time. The rent is due every single day. And so keep putting in that work. Keep celebrating the wins, looking at what's not working, making adjustments, and that trajectory will continue to go up.
Thank you, Brady. Do you have questions for me?
No, I don't think
Comments?
so. I'm just glad to be here. If you want to connect with me, feel free to shoot me a DM over Instagram. You can follow me, and I'm pretty relatable there. So if you do send me a direct message, I'll do my very best to get back to you personally.
Thank you so much, Brady. My best wishes to Alex, your co-host.
Yeah, Alex is at the office right now. I'm at home, so
Uh, so good to have you. Thank you so much, Brady. Insightful
thank you.
moment with you. Thank you so much, everyone. Take
Great to
care.
meet you.
Bye.
Bye.